Okay, so I did not see the countdown, but I'm assuming that I'm live. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about how do I make a webinar? Okay, it's not hard, especially if I can do it. It's not hard. It's not hard. I'm going to be making a webinar, and I just wanted to go over the 12 things that I learned recently about making a webinar. I feel that everybody in this group is capable of doing this. I think that if you take the time to do it, you will appreciate yourself for it. Okay, so I'm just going to go over 12 things that they told me, and I'm just going to regurgitate it to you guys. It sounds really gross. But I'm just going to tell you what I learned really quickly. My bracelets are getting tangled. Okay. All right. Number one is choose the right platform. I cannot begin to tell you guys, like, I used to use Keynote. Keynote is great for, if you have a MacBook and you're really not trying to buy a bunch of things. But Keynote is not the right thing to use if you want to create a webinar. What I was doing is I was making the Keynote slides, bam, 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 and then I would have to translate the Keynote into a QuickTime video, and then I would have to take that QuickTime video and upload it somewhere. Either that be Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo or wherever, but I had to do a lot of steps. The one that I'm considering using is Webinar Jam. Webinar Jam offers a 14-day trial, but it is $397, and that really sucks. $397, oh my gosh. So Webinar Jam or GoToWebinar. Another way that you can make a webinar without having to pay any money, okay, is if you make a video on Facebook. Okay, Facebook will allow you to record up to an hour and a half. And what you do is you save that video, you download it onto your computer, and you upload it onto YouTube. YouTube acts as a free host, okay? It allows people to upload videos all the time, and so you don't have to pay money for that. So that's where you can store your webinar information. And what you do is you make that video private, okay, on YouTube. Okay, and then what you're going to do is if someone wants to pay for that webinar, you drip it to them in an email campaign, or actually I would just recommend doing it through an email campaign. If you have an email list, make sure that you have an email list. Okay, so that is a way to do a webinar type setting without having to pay a bunch of money. I needed other features so that I could not have to be doing the webinar at the same time that I'm teaching people, so I have the replays. But YouTube allows for replays too. It's just a different setting, okay? There's just certain features that you don't get on YouTube, but YouTube allows you to edit the videos. So you do have the option of using YouTube to make free webinars or paid webinars. You just have people pay through PayPal or Stripe or Square even, okay? I'm not really familiar with GoToWebinar, but I hear that it's a really awesome platform to use. The second thing that you need to do is make sure that your registration page is targeted. What do I mean by that? Well, I just got through making a video about targeting your ideal customer. And so you just want to make sure that you are mentioning things that are relevant to them. So if you are a coach, say you're a business coach, and you want to make a webinar to educate people on how to, I don't know, make more sales, okay? Then you're going to want to make sure that you are speaking to entrepreneurs or other business owners, okay? And then you can target on your registration page and say, hey, I'm looking for small business owners and entrepreneurs who are really excited and who need help in their sales. That's very targeted. It's very specific. You don't even need to go off into demographics or psychographics as much once you know like exactly who you're talking to, okay? Number 3 is follow up with your registrants. When people register, and I already have people that have registered in for the upcoming webinar that I'm having, and all I have to do is follow up with them. They're already in my group on Facebook, but I can also follow up with them via email, because when they sign up for the webinar, they give you their email so that you can send them an email so that you remind them. I don't even have to do anything, because the way that Webinar Jam is set up is I've already set up the email so that like right before the webinar, it sends out an email. I don't have to do anything else. It sends out an email to them and it reminds them that that's how you can do that. And honestly, I was using Zoom for a little bit. I'm still using Zoom for my podcast, but what I found is they don't have a lot of features where you can make a webinar. So you can do a conference, but you have to pay for the extra people if they show up. Like you can do a free Zoom.us account, but you can only have up to 40 people. It can only be for under, I believe, 40 minutes. So if you're planning on having, like my webinar that's coming up is going to be too long for me to have a free tool like that. So I would have to use Webinar Jam or GoTo or something like that. Okay? Now, number 4 is practice, practice, practice. When you have a webinar that you're doing and it's like public speaking, you can't just go in all ham. Like you gotta make sure that you practice it at least once or twice. Read it out loud, I suggest, because what happens is you read it and you're like, people don't talk like that, do they? So you realize that people don't talk like that. So what happens is you'll be able to tell based off of how it sounds, if it's going to sound natural. And I tend to not write a script, but I like bullet points. I mean, you can do a script or bullet points, or just kind of let people read. I think that the best way to do it, though, is bullet points, because you should know your material well enough to just go ahead and spout out whatever you need to spout out with the bullet points on the slide, okay? So number 5 is set the stage. So my background right now is just trees, okay? I'm at home, and the trees are a good background, but the thing is if you don't have a nice natural background with natural lighting, you want to try to get in front of a window. Okay, and you have to do it at a certain time of day. There's only one video that I've made in like last year that was at nighttime, and that was because I was just super excited and I couldn't hold myself together and I had to make the video. But I think that if you're going to make a video, make sure that it's in the daytime. If you don't have professional lighting, so I have professional lighting. I have lighting that photographers use. So it's a little bit different than if you're using like a light in your house, because the light in your house is yellow. Okay, you want a white light. And right now you can see outside, this is a really good natural lighting. Okay, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to move anything around. Okay? So I usually tell my clients that if they're in the house and they have really good lighting, to make sure that you have like a picture behind you, or maybe a throw blanket on the couch, or try to make it look nice so that it's like a little setting, okay? And you can do a lot with a small space, so don't worry about having a small space. Just put a plant on one side, and maybe you can have a picture behind you and a throw blanket on the couch, and make sure that the lighting is good, okay? Number 6 is connect with your audience. Now, this is a great way to do that. I learned from Lisa Nichols every time I watch videos. That was a loud truck. Every time I watch videos with Lisa Nichols, what I noticed, and not even just with Lisa Nichols, like I like going to the Potter's house for church. What do you think you're doing? Am I turning that off?
No.
Then sit down.
Papi is busy.
Okay, well, you sit down. Okay, sorry. Okay, so connect with your audience. You want to ask questions. You want to ask questions, and you want to make sure that anytime that you are engaging with them, ask them to post in the comments, ask them to be involved. Okay, it's not really that hard to do. Just ask them to be involved, ask them questions, ask them to tell you where they're from, that sort of thing. Number 7 is switch to the visual. Okay, so you can't have the same thing going on all the time. You have to switch slides, or switch the picture, or do something. Like, don't just sit there like a stiff stick and not do anything. Okay, keep your audience. The best way to keep your audience is to engage with them and to make sure that you have something that you offer them at the end. So, like, say, hey, you don't have this awesome offer, but you can only have it unless you're at the end, and only a certain amount of people can get this offer. Okay? Always have a CTA, but just one. Okay? Don't have them to make a big decision. Either they make the decision to take what you have to offer, or they don't. There's really not a whole lot in between. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a call to action. You can either have a micro conversion call to action or a macro conversion call to action. A micro conversion is a like, a comment, a share, a follow, something that's not going to bring an immediate monetary gain. A macro is monetary gain. Hey, buy now, purchase now, something like that. Okay. Number 10 is prepare for the worst. I suggest that you have multiple devices that you're using so that you don't have to worry about if your internet goes out or if you have some issues with your connection, that you have another device that you can use that doesn't take up as much bandwidth, or something that you can use. Like I have I don't even know where it's at right now, but I have my cell phone and I can access the internet via my cell phone. But you can use a tablet, you can use an iPad, you can use anything that can connect to the internet, okay? Number 11 is record everything. It doesn't matter if it's a practice recording or not. Just make sure that you record everything, and make sure that, you know, when you do record, that you salvage what you can, okay? Don't worry about it being imperfect. Nobody is perfect, and even though you have a script or you have an outline, you're still going to mess up. You're still going to stumble over something. And I'd be really surprised if someone who's doing it for the first time doesn't mess up. So don't be so hard on yourself. And last but not least, I'm out of breath. That is number 12, which is be yourself. Look, I can't express to you how hard it can be to be yourself, but it's even harder to pretend to be someone else, because you have to keep up that front the whole entire time. And if you're any different than that front you're putting up, then people are going to know, and they're going to probably detach themselves from you. So those are 12 ways that you can make a webinar. I just want you to keep in mind, too, that when you're making a webinar, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be clearly polished. You don't have to go through all that. I mean, people know that you're a person, and they can see you. They can see how nervous you are. So you just want to make sure that you're not pretending to be anything that you're not, okay? There's a lot that goes into this, so honestly, I think that if you want to know more information about it, you can always ask me questions or post in the comments below. But other than that, I hope that helps. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. Bye.